Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston? Neil, yes, we are getting a TV picture. You're in our field of view now. Okay, ready for me to come out? All set. Okay, I'm on the top step. It's a very simple matter to hop down from one step to the next. You've got 3 more steps and then along. Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down about the 4th rung up.
Roger that. 10 miles, he's back on my nose. Max 1 again.
And we say to our nation tonight, we say to our government, we even say to our FBI, we will not be harassed. We will not make a butchery of our conscience. We will not be intimidated, and we will be heard.
6 miles, 6 miles. Valley 2. Turning into me. Roger that. 12 miles.
What's going on, folks? Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network. How you all doing? I want to thank you for joining us on the battlefield tonight, and we got a great show lined up for you tonight, as usual. I want to give a big shout-out to all of the folks over at Liberty Eagle, including Blair and the staff that they have there. They've given us a great opportunity tonight to air on their network, and I am completely and utterly blessed to be able to speak to you all tonight. I hope you enjoy the show. We do this show every Tuesday, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're everywhere, folks. We're if you can find us on Twitter, you can, Lanterns Buzz, or you can find me at Paul Revere again, as well as Battlefield.buzz, our website, and our network at Lanterns.buzz. If you're also interested in finding us on Spreaker, you can do that as well. We are airing live as well on Spreaker, and really, really excited. This is the debut show on Liberty Eagle, and I've been watching all the guys and gals over at Liberty Eagle and all the great work that they do, and thoroughly impressed with the operation that they have going on there, and I'm blessed to be a part of that. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, number one, are we engaged in a global political war? Well, we'll make the case for that, and the problem is that we're only being shown the chips that are moving around on the board. We're not being shown the board, and we're going to talk about the board tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the chips, but that's really not where we need to be focused. And we're going to talk about the forces behind that on the Battlefield Live radio program. I hope you enjoy the show. Make sure you comment on the radio program at Liberty Eagle, and we'll get to any of your questions. So stick with us on the Battlefield. We'll be right back after the short break. Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network, and Liberty Eagle. We'll be right back.
We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris Pilier and Susan Swift from Lanterns Media Network, Liberty Eagle. Want to thank you for joining us on the Battlefield today, and we got a great show lined up for you today. We got some new things going on, so just bear with us. Nonetheless, I want to bring on my co-host, the one and only Susan Swift. What's going on, Susan?
Hey, Chris, this is exciting. We're on Liberty Eagle. This is really big. I'm thrilled.
It's really exciting. I want to give a shout-out to everybody that's in the chat room right now. Say hello to Chris and Cheryl, Sandra, Danette, Bobby, Ryan, and Blair. And there's a whole bunch of you folks out there. It's great to have you all on board. And if you could, make sure you hit that share button, like button, get some people in on the battlefield. And we got an interesting battlefield to talk about tonight, Susan. We typically talk about all the politics and philosophy and so forth on the radio program. And tonight, I want to explore what's going on with this whole Donald Trump, this whole Russian collusion thing. But really, those are some of the the people that are the chess pieces, if you will, on this big board of political, global political conflict, if you will. And I want to talk about those pieces, but I really want to talk about the board and really what's going on there. So folks, if you haven't really been paying attention in the news lately, Donald Jr. Has been he's been, I guess, the latest chess piece, if you will, to be attacked on this board, this political board. And he's been accused of allegedly colluding with the Russians over all this goofy stuff that's going on with the Clinton campaign. And Susan, I don't know about you, but if we go back to January, there was actually a police in this real big-time right-wing website called Politico that did a whole piece on the Ukrainian efforts to sabotage the Trump campaign and how it backfired. Did you remember reading that?
Vaguely, and we should go through that. But yes, exactly. I think it's hysterical right now that, Donald Trump Jr.'s emails are now fueling the left's narrative. And I just have one question for all of those folks. If Trump Jr. deleted all of his emails, wiped his server with BleachBit, and destroyed all of his phones with a hammer, would the media suddenly lose all interest in the story and declare him innocent?
That's a very good question.
Just asking.
Very good question, Susan. And what's interesting about it is I've been kind of watching this whole dialogue. It's interesting to kind of sit back and see how people are hiding certain pieces on the board and trying to knock over other pieces on this political board. And one of the things that's amazing me right now is this whole idea of intent. You know how intent back with Hillary Clinton didn't matter, and her her intent, which doesn't even matter.
Her intent to put a private server in a bathroom so that Congress wouldn't have any oversight. You mean that kind of intent? But it wasn't enough intent for Comey to bring any action. That kind of intent, Chris? Is that what you mean?
Susan, are you meaning to tell me that you don't unintentionally just put a server in your bathroom? And I know computer geeks and everything.
I was asleep. I was asleep. It was involuntary. See, that's the legal definition of intent. You don't have to intend the harm. You have to intend to do the action. That means you were conscious and aware. Unless you were sleepwalking, right? Then maybe she gets away with it. And she does have, maybe, I don't know, Alzheimer's or some sort of blinky eye disease. So maybe she could blame that. But yes, of course, that was intent.
Well, what's interesting is that in the Espionage Act, if you read it, there is no line for intent there. You can accidentally take classified information and mistreat it and still get get arrested, right, or prosecuted, or whatever.
You could have a plant in the office, some Russian secretary, and she drops the classified information in your briefcase and packs it up for your meeting, and you hop in your car and you go to the meeting. You have now removed secrets from the government office, right? You didn't have to have that intent. You'd still be in big trouble, especially if you were a white male Republican. Just saying.
Well, maybe that's what it is, that that Donald Trump has the wrong color and wrong genitalia to be able to get by the special prosecutor that has basically just been appointed to prolong this whole Russian collusion thing.
I think he needs to get in touch with his feminine side. He needs to have an operation and come out and then change all of the colors to blue, and then just say, all he's got to do is say that he's now a Democrat.
Right.
And he doesn't have to do anything else. And then everybody would love him.
Yeah.
On the media.
Well, he gets in a lot of trouble for trying to get in touch with someone's feminine side, but I mean that's another story. but so here's another thing, Susan. Here's another thing, right? Here's a whole nother piece of this. So Comey has basically under oath, the way I understand it, under oath has said that he did not share any classified information when he quote-unquote leaked the information about Donald Trump in his memos, the memos that don't belong to him, right? So,
right. Yeah, but he typed up the classified stuff in his own little personal memos and then shared it with his buddy to get out there. Look, if he wasn't such a problem, why do you have to give it to your buddy to leak to the media?
Yeah.
Hello?
Well, he didn't think he was going to get busted, is what happened. He didn't think he was going to get caught. And then he gets indignant when they ask him about it on the stand. They ask him about it, and he actually acts like he's doing some type of favor, like they had to get this information out. And to me, what's so amazing about this is that Donald Trump, Donald Jr., all these people are getting, more or less accused for colluding with the Russians when the Ukrainians were working with the Hillary camp. There's actual proof and evidence that they were trying to. I mean, that's where the whole Manafort thing came from, and yes. so these are some of the pieces. Paul Manafort. We have Donald Trump. Obviously, we have Comey. We have Hillary. We have George Soros, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. All of these are pieces, these chess pieces, and we hear about them on occasion through at least from certain sides of the media, right? You'll hear from the right-wing, quote-unquote, I guess you could say right-wing media, you'll hear things about George Soros. No, left, you won't hear anything about George Soros, other than the fact that, his political armpits, if you will, we call them political arms, I'll call them armpits, are out spreading their smell all over the place. Slate and all of these other garbage, what is the other ones? Media Matters and all these, Media Matters. Yeah, Media Matters, all right. So,
yeah, it does. Media is everything, and Media Matters has got the right name. It does. But yeah, to your point, that Russia's effort. This is in the Politico. This is in Politico. The piece that you were reminding us all of. Russia's effort to influence the 2016 race was personally directed by Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Right.
And there were people behind that, like this chick named Chalupa. This chick named Chalupa.
I love Chalupas when I'm going to talk about.
She was doing opposition research to try to smear Paul Manafort in a plan to go ahead and try to smear Manafort when Trump would become, the more popular. But she was already doing the research. This is active. This is proof of active collusion between, the DNC and Hillary and Putin. And it's all right there in the Politico. But is anybody following up on that on the chessboard called Congress? Nobody's following up on this.
No.
Nobody.
And Robert's making a good point on the Liberty Eagle page. He's basically asking about the Russian collusion with tons of uranium. And I wrote about this on Lanterns.
Uranium One deal. Yeah. How do you think she got that? And how do you think that Bill Clinton doubled his speaking fees?
Yeah. And the thing is, we're talking about timelines. That's the whole thing right now. They're talking about the timelines when supposedly, Donald Trump Jr. met with this quote unquote arm of the Kremlin, if you will, this Russian lawyer or whatever.
Natalia, I know.
Yeah.
I've written all about that. I can break you that down if you want. But, we maybe we should catch people up on, like the Politico and set the stage and set the background so that people know what has been going on. This is while the Hillary's private server was taking a powder in the bathroom. We should set that back up, and then we can get to, Don Jr.'s emails and how they're fueling the left's new narrative now, the Trump-Russia narrative. They're just going to continue fueling it because of the email string and go through it. And who is Natalia Vladivostok, whatever her name is? I mean,
So-
it's just like...
So I guess let's lay out
whatever her name
let's do this. Let's lay out the breadcrumbs, because we got just a few more minutes before our first break. But I want to kind of lay out the program, like you said. I want to walk from where this board. I want to kind of set the board out, and then we'll talk about the pieces on the board. And so one of the things I really truly do, if you look at the political landscape, I truly do believe that what we're seeing is a true battle between socialists, fascists, and America. And I say America because America is its own idea, its own. I don't want to say necessarily an ideology, but America, the beautiful, America, the Constitution, America, the Declaration of Independence. These are all things that are the pillars of what has made Western. We've become the pinnacle of Western culture. And the things that have tried to tear Western culture down are fascism, European-style fascism, European-style socialism. And I'm not just simply talking about the murderous aspects of it. I'm talking about the ideology, where our rights come from government. They don't come from God. And so those, I think, are the three main pieces on the board, right? You look at a chessboard and there's two sides, or there's really three sides here, in which you have is the Americans. And look, if you look at some of the I look at Trump as somebody that came up with through the American dream. He's got his issues.
Yes.
I can say there's people out there like that don't like everything that Trump's doing. I can appreciate that, but I can tell you this: he's not Bernie Sanders, he's not Hillary Clinton, and
and I do believe that he does love America, and he loves business and corporate, capitalism and the notion of American exceptionalism,
right,
fueling the individual's power to become great. That's what he believes in.
That's true.
I believe that.
So I think that's the real big pieces on the board there, or at least the big groups. And so let's do this, Susan. Let's go ahead and we'll take our first break. And when we come back, we'll get into a little bit more of this discussion. And so, folks, stick with us on the Battlefield Live radio program. We'll be right back after this short break. Check us out, lanterns.buzz. And I want to give a big shout-out and thank you to Liberty Eagle for giving us the opportunity to debut on their network tonight. Stick with us on the Battlefield. We'll be right back after this short break. Thank you for sticking with us, folks, to the break. Chris Pilier and Susan Swift on the Battlefield Live radio program. We still got a whole lot of show left for you tonight. If you haven't yet, make sure you can follow us. You can follow us in a couple different places. Of course, make sure you give kudos to Liberty Eagle. If you all aren't following Liberty Eagle, there is a huge, huge audience over there. You got to check them out over there, Liberty Eagle on Facebook. Also, check us out on Lanterns Buzz. You can check us out, Lanterns Buzz, on Facebook as well as on Twitter. And you can follow me at Paul Revere again on both Facebook and Twitter. And Susan, where can they find you on social media?
They can find me on social media at Real Susan Swift. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's at Real Susan Swift. Or you can go through my website, susanswift.net.
Awesome sauce. So also you can check us out on, we're in a number of different locations. Our podcast is available. Number one, it's available on our website. All the things we're talking about tonight, folks, we do keep at lanterns.buzz, our website, and all of our archives are held with the program for Battlefield Live. Also, you can find us on...
It is so cool. You have to see it because that way you can see the shows that we talked about. I love this thing. I wish we could show it because all of the little pieces that we're talking about are linked right there to the show, so you can go and you can find it. What were they talking about? What was that article from Political? You can find it. It's so cool.
Yes, and it's great because, look, at the end of the day, folks, we're all working together to try to keep this country moving in the right direction. And all the things that we talk about on the program, they're not ours. They're everyone's. It's the truth. And, the whole idea of lanterns, I talk about this all the time, is that we're coming together in order to spread the light of truth. And we're all lanterneers, what I like to call everybody that subscribes, if you will, to the idea of spreading the light of truth around the country. So make sure that you're doing that. Get all that information. Bring it to your friends and family. We're all representatives. We're all publishers. And we can all make change in the country. Check us out on our podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, SoundCloud, as well as YouTube. And you can find us there by simply doing keyword search for Lanterns Buzz. So let's jump right 2 feet back into this thing, Susan. So I want to start off really in the second segment here with talking about the board. And we talked about, the 3 different, I guess you could say, groups. You got your European-style fascists and the European-style socialists, and then you have the Americans, right, where the people that believe, we're the people and the Americans that believe that our rights come from God. They're endowed to us by our Creator, and those rights, among those rights are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and really just so much in that order. And in order to protect those rights, we have instituted a government. And that government is constrained by the Constitution. And what we have to do is protect the Constitution. And it's not to protect it for Republicans or Democrats. It's to protect it for not only just America, but for the light of the world. I mean, we are the shining city on the hill. It's not just here in the States. It's for the world. So those 3 pieces are really important to understand. And what we're seeing with this whole thing with Russian collusion, look, we can say, all we want about Russia. At the end of the day, Putin is really somewhat of a, I guess you could say, a 21st century fascist. If you really understand.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course he is. And look, there is absolutely nothing new to the notion that the Russians might want to influence our elections. Heck, we want to influence the elections around the world as well. We would love it for all of the rest of the world to eschew tyranny and to vote for a representative democracy and a republic. We would love to do that. We partner with allies all around the world to spread freedom, to spread individual rights. That's what we do. We're all about this is the global chessboard or playing board for the world. And I think it looks more like Chinese checkers, actually. I think it's got more than three players. There's North Korea, there's China, there's Russia, all of these things. But we are in a global battle over ideas.
That's right.
Does the individual come first, or does the government come first? Do these governments have power that has descended from kings that God gave them through, divine right of birth? Or do we, the people, provide power to the government and limit that power? That's what our government is, limited government.
That's
That
right.
if you had to sum up our Constitution and our way of life, at least our ideals, in 2 words, it would be limited government.
That's absolutely
And that's
right.
the battle that we're on. That's the battlefield that we're on. Russia's always been in there trying to say, you know, hey, we just want to roll our troops through and get a warm water port. What's the problem?
That's right.
So we just want a warm water port. Yeah.
So we hear these things like, you know, we have Paul Manafort. We heard about Paul Manafort, and one of the people, a lot of people really don't understand the whole accusation of what Paul Manafort. First of all, Paul Manafort was working in the Ukraine on the behalf of a pro-Putin guy. He was a political advisor. He was being paid as a political advisor. There's no secret here. In fact, here on the battlefield, we talked about that during the primaries, and we talked about it as this possibly could be problematic. But at the same time, that's all out in the open. These things are known.
Yeah.
And the
And
opponents.
this is in Ukraine. It was Viktor Yanukovych. That's Manafort. That's who Manafort was advising, and he was the country's president.
That's right.
So there's no secret here. Manafort was advising Ukrainian president, and this was way back in 2013.
That's right.
This is to align with Clinton. That's what he was helping the Ukrainian government do.
Well,
no secret.
So Paul Manafort was on the pro-Putin side. The person that he was, the opponent to this guy, was a Soros candidate. He was the Ukrainian socialist candidate or whatever it was. And so Soros was pumping tons of money in this portion of the world, the Ukraine and all these different areas, because they wanted the Ukraine to pull into the UN. So Soros has got so much money engaged in this quote-unquote open society network that he's trying to build. And it's these countries like Ukraine that they're trying to pull into the EU to tie them together financially to create this quote-unquote utopians, socialist utopian in place, right? And
one world global government.
Right.
Finance, the European dollar, everything is one government. Exactly.
That's right. And so you have someone like Putin who stands in the way of George Soros. And I'm not making excuses for either one of these people, because they're both, to me, they're very dangerous people. Their ideologies are dangerous, and so Donald Trump basically comes in. He brings in a guy who's actually advised, I believe he advised Republicans in the past, including I think Nixon. Brings this guy in, Paul Manafort, and he brings him in as an advisor because he knows the global landscape. Like it or not, that's what he did. And so, of course, what happens is Clinton's aligned with Soros. Obama's aligned with Soros. And so this whole battle that we're seeing, the political battle, is not just a battle here in the United States. It is a global battle. And this global battle, it's unbelievable. We've written a lot about it on lanterns.buzz, but it basically, everything that happened in Benghazi was fueled by Soros's idea of bringing about world revolution, specifically more focused in that region. They were gun running from Benghazi into Syria, aiding the ISIS troops there and the rebels, and who was all involved with that? Well, Hillary Clinton was involved in that.
Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State.
That's right. And so they're basically overturning that portion of the world. They're trying to create revolution to change the regimes in this world to favor the more socialist type of environments. And
yes.
And so that's pretty much the global stage. So all we're seeing right now is the chess pieces. We're seeing the Donald Trump Juniors and all of this. And it's not that they are actually the kingmakers or whatever. Those are the people that just happen to be engaged with the real true players on the board, which is Putin, Soros, the Clintons, and all of these type of people.
The interesting thing is the way that you set up the board, imagining a board, and you've got Clinton and Soros and Obama and all of these different, they're all playing on one side. Who is the mastermind for individual liberty? Who is the mastermind for the Republican notion of a limited government? There is no one person. It's us.
That's
it's
right.
We the people. And there is conservative new media and places like Lanterns who are trying to inform, because there isn't one, Soros-like character, Grand Emperor Poobah who is manipulating everybody else. What these forces of socialism, the axis of socialism, all right, Soros and Obama and the Clintons, all that, they are now aiming, and they have been aiming all of their power to crushing the notion of individualism, and that is why Donald Trump is their target. Whether you like him or not, he is at least defending much of the notion of individual freedom and the notion of America as an exceptional, as American exceptionalism. And so they're all aligned against him. And now the latest attempt is, well, we got to take out, Donald Jr. because he knows how to talk. He knows how to present himself. He'll probably run for office too. And they want to destroy him before he's, out of the crib, so to speak. They want to smother him while he's still newborn. And they are aligning against him in a way it's two birds with one stone. If I can smear Donald Trump Jr., that will discredit him more, and that will also reflect badly on Trump. And it will slow down Trump's agenda, some of which is very good, some of which is not so good, but a lot of the agenda, like repealing Obamacare.
Right.
Obamacare is such a major piece of the socialist puzzle. They have to keep Obamacare functioning.
That's right.
Especially through the next 1 or 2 years until it's really truly a dug-in entitlement. And like it or not, Trump is saying he's going to repeal and replace. I wish he'd just drop the replace. Just repeal it.
That's right.
Every time he says that, that means Soros and all of the gang, Obama, Clinton, all of the global socialists, they want to stop Trump. So anything they can do to slow down, to intimidate anybody in the Congress who might be voting for repeal, any of the rhinos, anything, get them fighting amongst themselves, because that all goes toward delaying a decision. They've delayed the Congress is still in session now for another 2 weeks, and that is as an effort to try to repeal it. So you're going to see increased pressure on that.
All these pieces that we're talking about, and we can actually maybe say that these are the squares on the board, if you will, the Obamacares, the global warming crap, all these different pieces that we're just discussing from the policy standpoint. These are all holding on by a thread. Obamacare is right there. We can tear this thing out from the roots if we would just get some people in the Republican Party that have a damn spine. We just had a report that came out. We'll talk about this maybe after this next break, about the whole global warming thing. It's been proven pretty much a sham.
It's a hoax.
Yeah,
hoax.
You have all of these different pieces of the puzzle that are just they're basically collapsing, and we have to take these things and bring this information to the people. Folks, if you're watching this tonight, you have the power to reach out to hundreds of people. You are a publisher on social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook. We're on here because we've been talking about this for quite a long time. But you can take this message. Look, you can share what we're saying or take it on your own and bring it out there in order to be able to get this message out there. And don't do it from a partisan way. Look, I love debating from a partisan standpoint. But at the end of the day, we have to speak the language of the people that are open-minded. They may not be Republicans. They may be. Who cares about the parties? We need to simply express the ideas of America. We need to express the ideas of limited government, but not just limited government just for the sake of having lower taxes and all that. Explain why it is that bigger government takes away our rights. Explain how bigger government creates bigger corporations. These are not secrets. If you look at the money that the federal government spends, where do they spend it? They spend it on places like K Street and Wall Street and all these type of things. If you reduce the size of government, you reduce the size of the quote-unquote fascists, like the Antifa people always say, these capitalist, demons or whatever. So you reduce the size of government and you eliminate the collection and the centralization of power in Washington, D.C. None of us trust Washington, D.C. None of us. But yet we'll sit there and rally behind parties. I understand from the voting standpoint, we got to vote. I understand that. But don't rally openly about this. Talk about the ideas. Talk about the battlefield. Talk about the board, if you will. The pieces are just pieces. Because Donald Trump, when his piece goes off the board, because whether it's 8 years from now, hopefully it's 8 years from now and not 4, but when his piece goes off the board, there's going to be another piece there, but the board's still going to be there. And that's what we have to continue talking about, the board. And that board is a battlefield. And it's not a battlefield of people with swords and guns and all that. Hopefully it'll never become that way. It is a battlefield of ideas. And that's what we have to engage in. So let's do this, Susan. Let's take another break. And when we come back from the break, I want to get into some more of this, but I want to talk about some of the policies and some of the failures of what the left is experiencing right now. And I think there's some opportunity here, not only to basically broaden our scope on what we believe, but also reach out to some new folks. So stick with us on the battlefield, folks. We'll be right back after this little break.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, guest commentary, and news of the day, lanterns.buzz.
What's going on, folks? It's a great day. I hope you're enjoying the show. I'm enjoying being on Liberty Eagle. It's great. I'm also enjoying and loving the fact that I'm on Lanterns Media Network with all my brothers and sisters. And man, we got tons and tons and tons of things to talk about. And of course, we do 2 hours a week, and I do write a lot. Susan writes a lot. And there's so much to discuss, and we want to keep this engagement going, this battlefield, if you will, of ideas. Let's talk about the ideas. We don't have all the ideas. We like to discuss ideas, but we don't have the monopoly on all the good ideas. We need your help, and we need your help to spread this news. So Susan, one of the things that I wanted to mention, and I don't know if you live in, maybe you can speak to this. You live in California. I've been reading a lot of of turmoil that's going on in California between the Democrats and, well, none other than the Democrats, the liberals. They're fighting each other, and it's like this. It's the Hillary and the Bernie camp, right? Are you seeing any of that there?
You know what? We live in the People's Republic of California, and as an imprisoned Republican here, we're in the the California gulag, might I say. So we're just supposed to work here and pay all of our taxes, pay our fair share. So, you know what, I'm glad to hear it, but to me, it doesn't, look, they already have a supermajority in the state legislature. They can pass anything they want so long as they stay united. And unlike Republicans, they stay united because they're all about the ideology. So they'll have whatever infighting they're going to have, but at the end of the day, what they want to do, they can do through just vote, straight party line at the state level, and they can tax us. They can repeal any kind of tax reduction methods, anything that they want. So I'm glad to hear that they're fighting. Bernie is, look, he's like a commie professor. He looks like an old communist professor with his glasses and his hair all crazy. I mean, he's a commie. All right. And Hillary was so funny because she tried to position herself as kind of like the moderate version when she was running for her the president. And it was really galling her that Bernie Sanders had all of the mojo on his side, that the millennials and all of the college kids, they were all over Bernie, feel the burn. And that was another part of the smarmy, underhanded tactics that we know that the DNC collaborated and colluded with Hillary Clinton and the campaign to make sure that Bernie Sanders was denied a fair run for the Democrat nomination. They shut him out. They froze him out. And there are a lot of Bernie supporters that got really, really angry and upset about it. One of them was Seth Rich, who the anniversary of his death, of his murder, just passed. Right. And we still don't know why he was killed. So, we have evidence. We have actual evidence of how the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary, and they colluded to make sure that they stole the DNC election from Bernie. But again, nobody's prosecuting Hillary Clinton for that, and nobody's talking about that because the media pivots immediately and says, oh, Trump, collusion, Russia. They had to come up with something that would explain and excuse Hillary's loss in 2016. None of this was even started until after the election. And that's all they've got. That's all the media's got, is if they can keep repeating the lie long enough, Trump, Russia, collusion, Trump, Russia, collusion. If they can just keep repeating it, enough people will believe it. And then once again, the lie becomes the truth. That's everything that's behind the recent Donald Jr. emails, the whole thing. The narrative is what's important, not the truth. And that's what you and I are here to discuss, is the truth that lights the lantern of liberty. Right. So I want to talk about the kind of the place that we are now, but I want to go back to 2008. And Susan, I'm sure you remember this. I remember this vividly. Barack Obama gets elected. He beats, at the time, I was a fierce McCain guy, right? And look, I was engaged in politics prior to 2008, but I really didn't understand the ideas. I understood the pieces. I didn't understand the board. And so basically I started, after Barack Obama gets in office, I joined one of the local Tea Parties because I started paying attention more to the ideas. And I saw like a renaissance, right? A renaissance of the ideas, the battlefield that I always call it. That's why we call it the Battlefield Live. And I saw that people were discussing what was right and what was wrong, and people were correcting me. I was correcting others. No, you can't look at it like that. You got to look at it like this. And the people in the same. It was this vibrant debate, right? And I'm seeing the same thing right now. It's obviously coming from a different direction. But I'm seeing, other people. Well, I'm seeing people like, for instance, Dave Rubin. Okay, Dave Rubin used to be on the Young Turks. He was a left-wing progressive, and his eyes have been opened, and he's seeing that the radical left is really problematic. So when I'm saying from the other direction, I'm talking about from the left. People are starting to open their eyes, and there's an opportunity there. I'm going to tell you what happened wrong with the Obama people, okay? The Obama people didn't want to engage in the battlefield of ideas. They didn't want to exchange the light of truth, right? All they wanted to do was play party politics. That's where progressives never do. They want to shut down ideas. That's right. You're not even allowed to have an idea. If you do have a contrary idea, if you don't march in lockstep with them, you're a racist, bigot, homophobe, I've been called all kinds of names, and that's how you know you're disagreeing. They don't believe in the concept that, well, we can disagree without being disagreeable. They go to ad hominem attacks and they call you names because they can't beat your ideas, and they don't want you to articulate any ideas lest you persuade someone to start thinking.
And that's the thing. So I think what happened with the left, and it's somewhat paradoxical, right, with the left, because the left wants to shut down, like you said, they want to shut down the thinking. They talk about critical thinking. Well, they want to destroy the critical aspect of it. They just want to try. That's
another one of those dog whisper words that they like to brand themselves with. They don't. Yeah, they don't want anybody to think about things. Actually,
it's interesting. It's really not critical thinking. It's more critical theory. But that's for another day. But the whole idea here is that I think that there's people like you're experiencing in California. I think some of people are standing up and they're realizing, they've come out of the darkness of their, and I say darkness, it's really not darkness. They've come out of their own little worlds of managing their households, their family, their job, and all of this. They get involved in politics in 2012 or 2016 rather, and they're getting involved in politics, and they see the debates going on, and something doesn't seem right to them, right? They don't see. They see Donald Trump. They don't like Donald Trump. I'm talking about people on the left, the progressives, the liberals, and so forth. They see
the default Democrats. These are the default Democrats. They're just raised that way. They don't know any better. They just default to Democrats. They haven't really thought about why. It's just that that's what they've always been.
Right.
So they don't put much thinking into it, and they start seeing Trump and they go, I don't like him.
Yeah.
They don't know why.
And I had that same feeling in 2008. I felt like maybe, I look back at it now, and I think I was maybe just a guy that just pulled a lever with the R all the time. I didn't think about the ideas. And I think there's people that are starting to realize that there's something wrong with Bernie Sanders because his ideas just do not work, right? And
you think? Yeah. Well, it depends. If you really believe that the Communist Manifesto is the way to go, and you want to be in a gulag the rest of your life, and you want to have somebody who's in the elite 1% controlling everything you have and own, and whether you're allowed to drive what car and what food you're allowed to eat. I mean, it's like Venezuela. Then he's your man. Right. Crazy Bernie. I mean, he's totally your man. As people understand what communism truly is, they start thinking about it and go, well, what about if I want to keep my stuff?
But even if you go halfway there, even if you don't go all the way to where Bernie wants to go, because that's where, to me, that's where it leads us. Whether he wants to get there or not, that's what his ideology leads us to. But if you stop on the first bus stop to full-on communism, the first bus stop would be just simply, nationalized health care and all these different things. People know that it doesn't work. They know that these things don't work. They do create dislocation. They do create other problems. So, and then they look over at Hillary, and they see Hillary is no different than all the other candidates that have been in place. Maybe not as radical in some cases as Obama, but maybe more radical in others. But she's no different than what's been in place for the last many years. I mean, you can even look at
she's fatter.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
I
you're
can
the lady.
say that.
You can say that.
Sorry,
I can't say that.
That's why she had the tent dresses and those lovely pantsuits. Woo!
Do you have any pantsuits, Susan?
Oh gosh, no! Are you kidding?
I guess I'm chubby enough to have a pantsuit. I
would wear something a little different if I wanted to, persuade people to, be interested in me. I would wear something totally different. No.
Well, I did paint the studio here orange to go along with Donald Trump's tan.
Right? Reminds me of a Hillary pantsuit. I would like to see her in an orange pantsuit. Just saying.
Actually, there is one, and she looks like Mao Zedong.
Yes, she does, but yes. I'm kind of referring more to the federal type pantsuit that they fit in when you get the bus.
One with a number on it.
Yeah, with the chain gang.
Yeah, that's
the pantsuit I'd like to see her in, but
that would be pretty nice. But so the ideas that people are expressing from the Hillary side and the Bernie side, the conflict, all this class warfare, all this stuff, people are starting to wake up and they're saying, this is not what we're all about. We're not about all this division and the 3,500 different freaking gender roles and the blacks against the whites and the Hispanics against the whites and all this stuff, this garbage, And I think that people are starting to realize that some of this is just, they may not like Trump. I'm not saying they're going to go vote for Republicans next time, but I think that they're open to the ideas. And we step out of the party politics world and we get on the stage of ideas and we simply engage on things that we can agree on, I think that we can make a movement into the right direction of not voting in somebody that is simply just a powerhouse in the media and things like that, that are actually people out there that kind of fly under the radar and actually do make substantive change. You know, does that make sense?
Well, it's what you've been saying, which is that the left is overplaying its hand.
That's right.
They have come so far out of the closet that you can see them in their full naked glory. They needed to stay in the closet and put something on before they came out, okay? But they didn't, and now you can see how awful they look, how flabby and icky and gross liberalism looks out of the closet. Because what they want to do is they want to divide us along lines of race and gender and finances, everything they can, because it's divide and conquer. United we stand, divided we fall. And they're excellent at it. That's what they do. And they call names. And I mean, it's an Alinsky tactic. Saul Alinsky, he's one of the, players on the board. And that's what it was. He's a community organizer. He knew how to, what you do is you divide, you ridicule, and you pit people against each other. Instead of the whole model for America. The entire model for America is come here and assimilate into one culture, one people, united together. We, the people. Right. Not we, the peoples. Amen, not we, the, Hispanic Americans or the Irish Americans or the African Americans. No, it's we, the people. It's almost like the people of the whole world. It's all the people in the world, in a way, if we could. What we need to be doing is exporting our American exceptionalism and our concept of government under the Constitution to all these different countries, like Venezuela. Instead of adopting socialism here, which is what we're doing with Obamacare, and that's weakening our government. What we should be doing is exporting our Constitution. That would save the world, because we really do believe that we can be one people under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what we really believe. That's the Alinskys, the socialists, the commies, those guys, Lenin, Stalin, they know how dangerous that is. When you can connect with another person, even though they might look a little different, or maybe they're, different status, all those things, if we can unite on an idea, if we can say this is fair and this is just, we want the same opportunities, for instance. We believe that life is a right given from God. If we can unite on those things, that's 85% of the ball game. And that's why the left is imploding. That's why they're getting desperate. That's why they're crawling out of the closet all naked and screaming with fuzzy hair and pantsuits, because they're trying to say, no, you have to divide, because we got to have 27 genders. And I need your money because we have to fund surgery for people who want to abort their babies. I mean, they keep doing this because they want your money and they want to weaken you.
That's right.
They want to weaken you.
So
they don't want you to be in love with the notion of freedom.
What's interesting to me is we're talking about in the news right now, and I say we, the mainstream, fake media is talking about this Russian collusion. I call them the make-believe
media because they make up the news and then they make you believe it.
Right.
But
so I just think that we're watching the media talking about all this Russian collusion when the ideas of the left, the ideas of the Democratic Party are Russian ideas. Yes. They're of the Soviet Union. I mean, all right. So Donald Trump Jr. talked to a Russian lawyer. The Democrats are emboldening a Russian idea: Soviet communism, socialism.
Yes, and they actually colluded. We know this from the Politico article. The Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. That article that we were talking about from Politico. We know that they were actively working with this chick, Alexandra Chalupa. She was working with the Hillary Clinton and Obama, those folks trying to undermine Paul Manfort. So you're actually, that was collusion right there. We've got actual proof of it.
Right.
But Comey can't. He can go out on all of the media networks. He can break down how a server in a private bathroom doesn't break the Espionage Act because there was no intent, when the stupid law doesn't even refer to intent, and he's a lawyer. He should know better. But you know what? He's one of the players on the team, and he's got to make sure that he's making everybody happy and protecting Loretta Lynch, his boss, things like that.
And think of all the stuff that was going on in the bathroom with that server.
Oh my gosh.
I
Just the sanitation
I couldn't help
alone.
but think of that. It's just disgusting.
Ew.
I'd have to go take a shower.
You mean, did I wipe my server? You mean with a cloth? Well, how about some toilet paper?
Oh, man. We just totally went off the deep end to the dirt on this one. But it's so interesting to look at all of this.
Nasty woman.
It's so interesting to look at all of these different pieces, and the fact of the matter is that we're being led down this path to discuss this crap over and over and over and over again. And look, we have to defend ourselves when we're being attacked. And I'm saying us, America. When America's getting attacked, we got to defend ourselves. At the same time, we got to go on the offensive. So we have to take this message, take what we're talking about, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all these different ideas, take them to the dinner table and talk and just openly ask questions about it. See where people are at. And just talk about one little small topic. Don't go on a full-on assault because you'll isolate people.
Right.
I've been there before.
Ridicule the communist ideology of communism. Ridicule socialism. That's a brilliant tactic. Make fun of it. Show it for what it really is.
Yeah,
Get your kid's paycheck, your first paycheck, and say, oh, see that line right there? All the taxes come out. Did you think you were getting paid $15 an hour? I bet you did. No, you didn't. You've got to give this to this fund and this fund and this fund. You can ridicule and point out the hypocrisy in taxes, in the ever increasing socialist need to take all of our money.
And look,
ridicule them.
The thing is, Susan, is that we've, for a long time been studying and reading up on these things. In some cases, we've been, basically submersed ourselves in these ideas and trying to, in our minds, articulate the way that America is and then outwardly articulate it to people. And we have a radio show that does that. If you don't feel comfortable taking this message, you can bring them here. We will help you bring the people into the proper way of thinking. And look, like I said, we maybe not in the right place. So we need you to engage with us. We're not talking down to you all. We're talking with you. We want that engagement. And bring people to the water. Sometimes you got to drag them. It's like they call them donkeys for a reason in the Democratic Party. They're stubborn, and you got to drag them to the water to drink, right?
Well, they've been drinking too much of that communist Kool-Aid, so you got to get them some fresh water and let them laugh. We'll ridicule them for you. Ridicule the ideology for you. They can start seeing it.
So we got 1 minute, Susan. I know you got a book out there. Where can people find your book?
I have 2 children's books. It's called Good Guys with Guns. My second book is called Good Guys with Guns Abroad, and it honors the military everyday heroes who use guns to protect America. And it's on Amazon.com, and it's also through my website, susanswift.net. The first book is Good Guys with Guns at Home, and that honors the police and the domestic law enforcement that keep our communities safe. So go buy a book and show it to your child.
Awesome, folks. Look, if you're interested in my book, Deus Ex Machina, The Progression of Secular Socialism, you can get that book on Amazon.com. Just look up my name, Chris Pilier. You see it on the screen there. Just do a keyword search for that, and you can find that book there. Also, make sure you go to lanterns.buzz. Check out our website there. Folks, if you're listening on any other place like YouTube or Spreaker, SoundCloud, or whatever, make sure you go over to Liberty Eagle. Liberty Eagle, the Liberty Eagle. Check them out on Facebook and make sure you like the page. Also go to Lanterns Buzz and like the page there as well. Share this information. Get the light of truth out. And by all means, we have a lot of work to do to turn this country around. So I want to thank you for joining us on the battlefield. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And from me, Chris Pilier, Susan Swift over there. Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Talk to you later. Later.